So, let's get started. Welcome to this course where we will be talking about databases and database theory. There are two courses in this class. There's the 1DV 513 and the 2DV 513. And those two courses has you students from various programs. Last year, we were dividing these courses into two branches. That won't happen this year. There will be only one branch. So whatever you heard from your friends, there will be just one branch at all, right? So you will notice a few things about me. One of them is that I'm always talking ahead of my slides. So there you have it again in printed text. So, but don't worry about it. There was a reason for dividing them into two branches last year, but don't worry if it will sort of get too hard or not at all. I will fix that for you. And this is the course staff. Lars Carlsen that's me. I am not an employee of this university. I am from the business sector. I'm working mainly in the industry, where databases is an integral part. So I have a few experiences regarding that topic, and I'm also a software engineer, so I'm usually working on constructing software systems. So I will be holding the lectures, and Maria Ulan will help me with the assignments and the supervision. So, and I think that some of you have already been talking to her using Slack. Is that correct? Yep. And this is the topic or the topics for this course. In general, we will be talking about the sort of construction of a database, its part, how to conceptually model it, and how to sort of thinking of when going from the conceptual into the data logic version of it, where you have actually to create those tables. We will also be talking about concurrency and transactions, and that's also a sort of a harder part sometimes. Those topics will be harder to talk about, mainly because they are deep into the database server engines, where sort of if you were talking about transactions and concurrency, let's assume that we have a table and there are two clients accessing that table at the same time. What will happen? And if you're lucky, you have a database server already made for you, and that's a good part. The bad part if you are the one creating that database server, but that's not part of this course anyway. And that's the sort of series of this course, the structure. I will be having a few lectures about that topic, and there will be a few assignments. I think there will be about 4 of them, and there might be a few exercises. It all depends on how many questions you ask. And when it comes to the lectures, there will be about 11 of them. And once again, if you require an extra lecture, then I will probably add one. And there will also be a sort of a final take-home exam, and that will be in the first half of January 2018. Is that something that sounds good? Yeah, and it will be the same exam regardless whether you are attending the 1DV or the 2DV course here. the previous lecturer of this course told me that I should be spending more time on normalization. And that's something that I will do because it's a very important part of creating or designing a database. So even if you just see 6 sort of points here, or 6 topics, there are around 11 lectures. So I might spend, say, 2 lectures on normalization, and I might spend 3 of them on modeling and the design of it. Because sometimes when you're creating a database system, you will end up with a sort of a real mess, and when a database is messed up, you are in trouble. And let's just go for a shorter example here. And by the way, as you sort of assume, this lecture will be very short. It will be over in 20 minutes or so. But let's go for that lecture. That example, and see if I can manage this system. So let's see if we can create a student register. This student register will be a really bad one. This is just to demonstrate for you when things go bad, and it will contain of just one table. And let's assume that we have our student register, and we are going to sort of register us onto a program. So what you might be doing here is that you sort of start with your name, and my name is Lars Karlsson, and I'm going to enroll on a fictitious program which I will be calling web programming. And I also have a phone number. So the first thing to note here is that, okay, that's my name, and that's my first name, and that's my second name. And if we don't have a good structure here, we might end up doing things in the reverse. So if we're adding another student, and that guy is named Jonas Lundberg, and I'm enrolling him to the economics program. Well, the thing here is that I added his name in the reverse. So I started with the second name first and the first name last. So that is one of those things you have to take into account when you're creating a database or a table. Because if you don't create the rules for it, you will end up with a sort of a real mess here. And that's bad, because if you don't understand what is the first name and the second name, you cannot extract information from this. And the second or the third thing is that we might start to add columns where you add properties, such as a name, and the program, and the phone number. And also, if you are creating a table where you have those columns and you don't know how to name a column, that's also a reason for you why you should stop, because then you probably don't know what you're doing. So that's one of those golden rules. If you cannot name a thing, stop whatever you're doing. You don't understand it. All right, so we have a sort of a problem here. So to fix that, we sort of change those two, second name and first name. So we fix that problem where we don't know what it's if it's the first name or the second name. We sort of splitted that column called name into first and second. The next problem here is that what happens if I am to enroll on a new program. I'm going through two programs at the same time. So I'm also enrolling on that economics program. Well, that might be fine for now, but once again, what happens if I change my second name? I change my second name into Ericsson, but I forgot to change the second row where my name is. So I, at this case, have two instances of me. The first one is where my second name is Ericsson, and the second one is where my second name is Karlsson. So then you face the problem of deciding which one is the correct one. Well, in this case, you can't. So that's also a really bad thing here. So that's something we have to fix. There are more problems here. Let's assume that we want to add another phone number. And if we do that the really bad way, let's call that column phone 1, which sort of sounds really strange right now because the first one should be phone 1, that should be phone 2. But since we have, let's assume we have already released that table into the wild, so some other programmers are using it. So they are relying on the fact that the names of the columns are first, second, program, and phone. And you're adding phone 1, which might be fine. The bad thing here is that if you are starting to insert, you start to insert columns in the middle of things. And what will happen here, if those programmers have done their thing in the wrong way, is that you are breaking their programs. And that is something that is really, really bad. You are breaking their programs, and you will not be a popular person. So you have to fix that too as well. And where do you do it? Well, if you are trying to model things right, you might solve those things beforehand. Okay, I'll show you another example where things go really bad. And that's when you start to add columns under the presumption that they might be good to have. So I start to call them column 1 and column 2. So if you need them, you can use them and you can put whatever you feel like into them. Well, the thing is that you don't know what is in there. You have no idea. You have no idea. So sometimes I'm putting an LNU ID. The second time I am putting in something entirely different, my hometown, which is Karlsson. So then you are really bad off. And the third thing you can add, you can start to add things. Let's see if I'm, yep, I'm in here. And that's when you start to add things in here in your comment. So I'm adding a phone number in the comment section. And all those things are there because you designed your database badly. So if you don't understand what you're doing, and if you don't understand how a database works, how to model it conceptually, then you're in trouble. And hopefully we will fix this in this course. And there are other things in here which I haven't talked about, and that's the authorization. Who should be allowed to read this table or write to it? So that's a user thing. And then you have your loggings and the backups and all that stuff. Should it be available over the internet or not? Is it a closed database? So those are some of those questions that we will address in this course. And let's see if we can find an eraser. And when you're modeling, and I sort of assume here that you have been modeling, but in another language or in another context when you're programming using Java or JavaScript or PHP or something. So you've already been doing this, but this time it is about databases, and it sometimes is a bit harder to fix those problems when you have released your system. Especially if you have released it in a sort of a major, bigger enterprise where thousands of people rely on your database, then it's not that easy to change things. And that's the schedule for next week and the week after, 45 and 46. There will be only one lecture next week, but there will be 3 of them the week after. And the rest of them, I will sort of put them out there for you to read when I get the context of my own work, my own work situation. Yeah. And those are the 2 platforms I want to use. Yeah?
Can you say anything about the Christmas break yet?
Yeah, well, if you have a look at the schedule that is announced by LNU on their site, I will not change those already booked appointments or those lectures. So what I will be doing is that I will sort of remove from what is already booked by LNU. If that made any sense at all. I have no idea. All right. Okay. If you have, let's see. Sometimes you sort of get it when you don't understand yourself. No one else probably won't do it. Let's see if I have access. Oh, perhaps I should add some. Is that LNU? Yep. So this is where we are today. That's where we are today. And if you have a look what is on Wednesday next week, week 45, there's a lecture there. That will be cancelled. And that's what I meant by having that November the 7th. That's the one I want to have next week, but not the one on Wednesday. So I will not be adding lectures on what is on time edit. I will remove them. That's what I meant. Are you following? Okay. So there are a lot more lectures there than I will be using. Okay. Sorry for that confusion.
So you're gonna just like change dates then?
Sorry?
You will not add more lectures?
No, I will not add more lectures.
Yeah.
Because this schedule is based on the fact that we had 2 branches last year. So that's why there are too many lectures here. So I will only use 10 or 11 of them, and that's why I'm announcing 4 of them for the next week and the week after. But the week from 47 and onward, I will get back on to you on what lectures or dates we should be using. Is that okay? So my answer to your question about Christmas. There you have it. So what could be the last one is on the 20th of December. That might be the last one, but there will be no other or later.
And can we expect an announcement during the last week or the last 2 weeks of December?
Sorry?
Can we expect an assignment during the last 2 weeks of December?
Yeah, there will be a few assignments, but I will come back to on those as well. And your home assignment, your home exam, will be announced at the end of week 51, what you should be doing, and the release date and the end date for that home exam. I think that you will have a few days to send it back to me.
Week 51?
No, that will be in the first half of January. So in the first half of January, I will send you the home exam. But the last lecture is no later than the 20th of December. Sometimes you need a degree to understand those schedules.
Like you can't announce which ones are recorded and which one not.
Yeah, I will get back to you on that as fast as I can.
All right.
So probably during the next week I will probably know exactly what my plan is for the whole course. But I sort of assumed that you wanted to know what you should be doing this week, next week, and the week after. So from 47 and onward, I'll get back on that, right?
Those slides, they are on my Moodle.
Yeah, everything I produce, I will put on the Moodle page for the respective course you're attending. The live streaming is stored for you to look or watch after this, or if you weren't able to attend at all, you can look at it afterwards. I will not use Moodle for talking to you in terms of text-wise or messaging. I will probably, I will use Slack for that. So I want you to register for Slack and use that channel 2DB513 database theory. So add yourself to that channel. So if you want to message me, that would be the channel to use. Or some of you might prefer to send me an email. That's okay. But those two are my main communication platforms, and especially Slack for messaging you. I will put links to the documents I will be using on Moodle. So Moodle will not be used that much. Any questions?
Basically, there isn't mandatory lessons or tutorials or anything.
The only thing that is mandatory are those assignments. Yeah, to send back. And you will send them back to Maria. And she will announce herself on Slack. And also add a few things on Moodle, how she wants to do her thing. So if you don't want to attend the lectures, well, you can be at home if you want to. Yeah.
Is there any course literature?
Yeah, there's a course literature. And I've already been asked if you are required to buy it. I don't think so. That's a good answer. It's very expensive.
Yeah.
1,800. I will hopefully my slides and whatever you find on the internet will be good enough for you. Yeah, I found it on Adlibris, a later edition. Yeah, I was also very interested when I saw the price for it. So.
But I couldn't. Yeah, but it doesn't exist. They haven't removed it. I ordered it this summer. So I had this, and it didn't arrive.
Oh. Okay, let me check up on that. But if you can cancel it, do it. Yeah, okay, yeah. Which is fine by me. If you want to have that book, buy it. Absolutely. Any other comments or questions? Because that's the final slide I have. Okay, in that case, we'll see each other next week then, right? Bye.